The next generation of Xbox, it's coming to ARM. The next generation of Xbox consoles and hardware, and those are two separate things I might add, I believe, is starting to come somewhat into focus thanks to a job posting by our friends over at Qualcomm, which we will get to here in just a second. Because for the past, I would say, year or so, we've been hearing these rumors and telltale signs that Xbox is going to be changing up their entire strategy about how they're going to bring games to market, how you're going to play, Xbox, a new marketing campaign that says this is an Xbox, and quite literally this TV is an Xbox now because it can stream xCloud, or I should say cloud gaming content from Game Pass. And so there's a lot of evolution happening in the world of Xbox, and now we've gotten maybe the potential first smoking gun that things are dramatically going to change. And so let's dive in here. So this comes, and I'll zoom in here so don't worry too much. This comes from a job posting just a couple days ago over on the Qualcomm website. So let's see that little blue Xbox down there. Let's zoom in. So this is directly from the job posting by Qualcomm. And I think it's important to point here, this is related to their connections with Microsoft. It says support the sell-in activities in the next generation of Surface and Xbox products built on Snapdragon solutions. What does that mean? That means that Xbox will be able to run on ARM. Now, there were conversations, and I believe even some leaked slides back from that FTC fiasco a long time ago. Was that like 2 years now, 18 months, something like that? That showed off a bunch of things like the Brooklyn console and everything else. And they talked about trying to bring their stuff to ARM. And so with Qualcomm in the picture, I can't imagine Qualcomm's doing a pivot to x86. And yeah, and the job description goes on to say, work with internal and external stakeholders, including legal, finance, business units, marketing, and field teams to help define the next generation of Surface and Xbox portfolios. What in the heck does all this mean? Here's what I think we can opine from a lot of this, right? Remember, if everything is an Xbox, that means that Qualcomm's going to be building an Xbox. I still fundamentally and somewhat firmly believe that traditional console games will eventually be playable on everything, right? They're going to start bringing that. Microsoft has a job posting, like Jason Ronald tweeted out, and says, look, we're looking for somebody to help us do backwards compatibility. And in my opinion, I believe that means bringing backwards compatible games like console games to new devices, including the PC. And it's not a big stretch, but there's things like security and other things that have to be taken into in modern APIs and Windows solutions and all sorts of stuff. But this job description from Qualcomm is obviously a third party. While Microsoft has a great working relationship with Qualcomm, there's lots of Surface devices running ARM chips. This is the first time we're seeing them using the term Xbox. And if you're not familiar with how Qualcomm frequently operates, right? They build the chipsets that third parties use. Like if you buy a Samsung phone, if you buy an, does LG still make phones? If you buy a Pixel device or any other company's phone that's using a Qualcomm chip, that's the company who makes it, right? They're Snapdragon chips. They make the CPU, they give them to third parties, and then they build devices. So if they're going to be building Xbox handhelds or Xbox style devices, Qualcomm has got to be integrated into this conversation with Xbox about how they're going to do that. You don't just spring this software upon them. This takes years of development, drivers and chipsets and everything else. And so it seems like this might all be related to how that's going to happen and how these third-party handheld companies like Asus and Acers and Lenovo's of the world are going to build Xbox-powered handhelds. And so this is a very big deal, my friends, and something you should not take lightly. Because last week I did a post or a video that says, I think this is the most important Xbox button in history, and it was that Asus device that showed off or the ROG Ally device, I should say, that had an Xbox button attached to it, and you press that and it launched the Xbox experience. I think this is all sort of simulated and related. I don't know why I said simulated there, but related in some capacity, that these things are starting to come together. Now, Xbox obviously has said time and time again, they're going to continue to build consoles. So the question becomes, and part of this is like, hey, does that mean that there's not going to be a traditional x86 AMD typically derived traditional console? I don't think that is. I think these are two separate things, right? If everything is an Xbox, and if Xbox truly just becomes a software layer that is the fabric of the Xbox experience, then the traditional underlying componentry no longer is as critical, or crucial, if you can pronounce critical, if you will, as you might expect. So Microsoft says, look, here's the software layer. We can have multiple chipsets underneath powering it. There's a button to launch the Xbox experience into that mentality and OS experience that we know, right? Your friends list, your games, your chat room, that interface that is all too familiar. And yes, it has been around for a long time, but I think they're, really drilling in on perfection rather than trying to reinvent the wheel every single time. So yeah, it's just a job description, somebody will say, but this is Qualcomm lining up the sales and go-to-market teams behind this experience, right? This is a director level role, which is not entry level. So this person will be facilitating the conversations and building up the team and speaking and marketing and other narratives related to bringing this to reality. So to me, it feels like we're a little bit closer because it's not an engineering related role. It would be like, hey, help us develop Xbox experiences on our hardware. This is like, hey, we've got something. Now build up the team and the marketing material to go out to the market and sell it and make it big and make it a big deal and make us win in the space. Because you got to remember, for Qualcomm, this is a very big deal as well. Because, right, they've got these Windows PCs that are kind of starting to get some momentum on the side. They've got phones, which have been their bread and butter for a long time. And now they've got console-related experiences coming that are going to help their bottom line as well. When they're selling chips, they now have a new angle of approach to try to get more hardware vendors to buy their wares. Now, are there going to be other vendors who might be able to do this as well? I would expect so. I would imagine AMD is probably in there, and I'd have to think that Intel is going to want to be included in that conversation as well. But Qualcomm has been leading the pack when it comes to these mobile devices. Yes, the ROG Allies and other things can if you will, play in that arena. But we all are kind of lusting, if you will, for that, not lightweight, but highly efficient mobile gaming experience that Qualcomm chips, or ARM chips, I should say more specifically, we expect are going to be capable of bringing to market. So this is just another little piece of the puzzle that we have been watching for years to develop. And so with Qualcomm saying we need people to help us do this, and we hear Microsoft saying, like, look, these are the things we're doing, look, listen to what we're telling you, it's all coming together that the next generation of Xbox experiences are going to be vastly different than what they are today. Where, yeah, I don't think this controller is going away, and I don't think the box under your TV is going away, but I think it's just going to be one small piece of a much larger pie that Microsoft is chasing with their whole new Xbox vNext experience. And I think that is something that we should all be paying attention to. So one small job description for Qualcomm, one giant leap for YouTubers like myself. As always, my friends, make sure to keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.